Without the shadow of a doubt, Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon took a lot of inspiration from old school RPG. The quest design reminded me of a little bit of Gothic, with a lot of focus on exploration and branching choices. The combat is similar to Bethesda titles like Skyrim or Oblivion, or even a little bit like Dark Messiah of Might of Magic, just no kicks. The aesthetics of this game are incredibly grim and similar to Dark Souls. You have pools of blood, impaled bodies everywhere, ruined castles, and weird Celtic songs played through the night. The world of Tainted Grail is like what if Fallout happened in the Middle Ages, and Avalon has not just collapsed, it's just laying there rotting from top to bottom. King Arthur has been long dead, but even worse, due to political division and past unresolved rifts, the people of Camelot and the Dal Raita clans are putting the island again on the verge of war. The Dal Raita clans felt betrayed by Arthur and Camelot at the end of the Great War against the Four Dwellers, a race of monsters that inhabited the island when Arthur led his people away from the mainland to escape a magical plague known as the Red Death. And Camelot, well, through the game we will explore what is their problem in quite a few ways. However, politics and history are not the main focus of this game. They are overall themes, bits of lore are injected in conversations and in exploration, but by advancing through the side quest and exploring, we get to understand more about the sad state that the kingdom is, and why, due to a permanent void left after the king's death, Arthur's followers are still attempting to resurrect their king back. But every time they do it, all hell breaks loose and Arthur comes back more angry than ever. There is a lot to do in this game. The side content is as important as the main quest in my opinion. It will provide you with extremely powerful items that otherwise you might miss. Even roaming around between some rocks might surprise you with a hidden powerful axe, or you might even loot a very strong spell from a locked chest when you least expect it. This design incentivizes exploration and rewards knowledge of the game during successive playthrough, as the loot is not randomized. It's quite impressive what the developer of this game have achieved. It will take some time to get used for some people about the lack of health regeneration. However, let me assure you, not only the game has some form of life leech, but there is also plenty of food to loot around, so even if you do not get the life leech, for example from the two-handed tree, or you're using healing spell, it's gonna be fine. The health management is not that oppressive to begin with. It's more easy to die in combat than to die because of the lack of health regeneration. The game also features a full thievery system. You can sneak, break locks, steal items, and sometimes even pickpocket sleeping NPC. Is it as refined as an Elder Scrolls game? Well, not quite. However, it's still quite functional, and if you are not careful, guards will try to arrest you. Most of the game is centered around two mechanics, both of them are active, and I'm talking about evasion and parry. You can perform these regardless of your build. On my first playthrough, I finished the game as a summoner mage hybrid, incredibly safe and strong, to the point where you will find a hard time to die. Perk system is similar to Skyrim. Every level up, you add a point. It's not overly complex, however, but there is still some depth, and how you spend your points will decide how effective you're gonna be, so there is still room for build making, especially thanks to the fact that there are many unique items in the game. Mana regeneration works in combat, and if you're playing a summoner, you have a perk that allows you to have more mana regeneration for every summon you have. Having a summon will reserve part of your maximum mana, so it's always a trade-off to seek for a perfect balance so that you can still summon stuff if your summon die, and you can still afford to cast a spell if you need to. And with another perk, for example, you can get more life based on your maximum mana. You get the gist. As a mage, focusing on mana and spirituality is extremely rewarding. However, I need to confess that I am having more fun playing as a two-handed warrior. Mage got a bit boring toward the end of the game, even if I feel that I'm currently weaker compared to what I could do as a mage at my current level. This is nothing that more items and more stats will not fix. This game is an RPG, so of course it's a power fantasy. You're supposed to become so strong you can tear apart anything. There is a hard stat requirement to the gear, however, so if you do not have enough the stats, and most of the time it's gonna be 2 stats, not just 1. It will not provide you the bonus. This means that you need to pay attention on how you allocate your stats. It's quite important for your build naturally. Don't worry, however, there are some forms of respecialization in the game through potions of origin that you can find around. However, they might be hard to come around, so plan before using your points or even resetting. Just make a save file in case you want to try a different build. Mobs respawn quite fast, so you can always go back and farm mobs. This was a problem in certain areas with Avowed, and I'm happy that this game is not doing the same thing. You just wait a couple of days and go back and kill them again. The game also features a skill-based game system extremely similar to Oblivion. If you didn't play the Oblivion Remastered or even the original game, I suggest you to try it out. This game has also a fully functional crafting system, and even a power-up system for weapons. Investing in crafting doesn't require skill points because you have a level tied to your crafting proficiency. However, specializing in crafting is gonna bring a lot of more benefits if you are planning to go heavily in crafting. You will need to learn a recipe, however. This is not the case for cooking, where you can experiment, and you can even Google and look up the recipes, and then you can just unlock them yourself if you have the materials. However, in this game, if you lose a unique item, you can't get them back. Luckily, there is a stash, so my suggestion is do not vendor anything that you feel you might need, just put it in your bank. This game has also horses, you can even buy some houses. Feel that these features are really not that important. It's cool that they're there, don't get me wrong, but I want to level up my athletics, so I never once used a horse, never. And plus the teleporting stones are all well designed, and you can even teleport from your campfire. Traveling is really not that difficult. Also, I was always short on gold on my mage because I kept buying items and spells to try out, so I could never afford a house. If you are planning to play as an archer, you need to know, however, that you will need to craft your own arrows. Moreover, when you shoot an arrow into an enemy, it will break. It's not Oblivion or Skyrim where you can just loot back your arrows. I'll probably get to try out an archery build in the future, but it will take me a while before due to how long the game is. The main quest is not optional, and later areas I have some hard locked requirement on several side quests to progress, which is really not a problem. The only area in the game I found annoying was the corrupted temple instance in Act 2, and I only say this because when you are in an instance, there are no minimaps, so it can be confusing to navigate certain areas, especially if they have a lot of elevators or the layout is a bit complicated, but you can easily get around it. So, the story. This is the main reason why we play RPG, at least for me. Some people might disagree and be like, me, smash, bonk, bonk. Well, combat is important, and that's true. If the combat is amazing, people can forgive a bad story. However, if the combat is terrible and the story is so-so, like, people will not bother playing the game. I will not go too much in spoilers because this game has several twists and things you're not supposed to know the first time. It adds to a sense of mystery. If you spoiler yourself, you will probably not enjoy it that much, naturally. Before the game ended, I thought that the story was something similar to Cyberpunk, you getting on an adventure with an uninvited guest in your head, which will steal the spotlight from you most of the time and annoy you. I like Keanu Reeves, but Johnny Silverhand was overbearing sometimes. That was not the case in any absolute way. This game is not like that. Through our journey, we are given a lot of agency. The main goal is to unravel the mystery, so this is like the red line that ties the entire game together. To piece together the broken soul of King Arthur, which will bring depth and a much needed and refreshing perspective, because King Arthur is a complex character which will grow through the story. This is why, in my opinion, the writing is excellent in this game. The developers aren't trying to tell you how you should feel about Arthur or Avalon. They make an equal and good case for the different perspective brought to you by the characters in this game, so you as the player can take a decision and make a choice on who you believe is right or if they're all wrong. At some point I felt frustrated with Camelot because I expected something more Arthurian, let's say. They preach a lot about order and rationality. Camelot can feel very unreasonable in the story. But Camelot isn't one person. Even as a faction, it comes with different expressions. And not all Knights of the Round Table hold the same opinion about every same topic. I wish we would have seen more about this, but it is what it is. Moreover, as you can imagine, even the figure of Arthur is quite controversial in Avalon. The king had to be a king, and as a leader, he had to face devastating challenges and come to terms with difficult decisions. He simply couldn't please everyone. So, of course, there are people that are really mad at Arthur. So, what about the player? I'm gonna be honest, some choices don't matter that much, because the end point of the journey is gonna still be the same. Some of the choices that are given are there to motivate the journey for you. This invisible end will guide you through it, however. But for the rest of the game, there is a lot of agency. You have different ways to complete certain quests. You can alter the outcome. In some cases, speak checks are gonna be essential, or they might even lock you out from doing an extra step. This can be frustrating sometimes. As a mage, I felt that my high spirituality was useful maybe 3 or 4 times, but you can always reload and come back to those dialogue checks later. It's what I did, and as I said, it will not happen for every quest. I only felt that there was only one quest that I just couldn't do, and I didn't have the stat necessary for the check. But luckily this is not the case for everything, so don't be scared about this. How long is the game? I'm not gonna lie to you, I finished my first playthrough as a mage at 17 hours. I did most of the quest, but I'm sure I missed a few. And some might even have bugged out, but I'm not sure because it was my first time anyway. In early access, I only played through the first act. The second and the last one, I went there blind. If you enjoy the combat and the exploration, the game can give you probably much more time than that. Plus, this is an indie title, it's not $80, luckily. Which is good because the game has quite a few bugs and missing voice lines from NPC. From time to time might happen. I didn't experience anything game breaking, however, at least on my end. I never crashed or had a corrupted save file. Should you buy this game? Well, no predatory DLC, no $100 price tag. Let's hope that the industry doesn't push for that. But more importantly, it's an indie RPG that actually delivered full playable game after an early access development and didn't scam the players. These are all good reasons to buy if you enjoy this type of combat. We don't get RPG games quite often, and I don't have any complaint about this game. So for me, yes, you should buy it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Have a good day. See you.